Hello everyone and welcome back to today's lecture. Today we are diving into the absolute foundation of human health, that is macro and micronutrients. We will be breaking down exactly what these substances are, why we require them daily in our diet, and most importantly, how they come together to create a truly balanced diet. Dear viewers, we have a lot of essential ground to cover today. So grab your notebooks, get ready to jot it down. And before that, I want to share with you that I post new syllabus focused lessons every day to help you master biological concepts according to your IGCSE level. If you found these lectures helpful for your exam preparation, then hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. And also you can check the description box for a link to my full biology playlist. And if you cannot find that there, you can easily check that on my YouTube channel. So let's secure that A star grade together and let's start our today's lecture. Now that we have understood why balanced diet is so important, so let's look at the actual chemistry behind our food. When we eat, our body looks at a meal as a collection of micronutrients and macronutrients. Here we shall first discuss about macronutrients. In that, in that word, the prefix macro means big. So these are the heavy hitters that form the chemical foundation of your entire diet, including carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Lipids is used as a scientific word for fats and oils. But here is the catch. Your body cannot use a piece of bread or a steak in its whole form. It is a way too big to enter your cells. Think of these macronutrients like massive Lego structures. Each one has to go down a very specific biological pathway where your digestive system completely tears it apart. But why? That is why the reason to tear it apart is to break them down into tiny individual building blocks that your bloodstream can absorb and your body can actually use to rebuild itself. So what are these building blocks and how does the body use them? Let's find out in the next slides. First of all, let's start with our first macronutrients, that is carbohydrate. If your body is an engine, carbohydrates are its absolute favorite, most efficient source of fuel. But not all carbs are created equal. They range from massive complex molecular chains to tiny simple sugars. Let's look at the difference. First, we have starches, which are complex carbohydrates. You find these in your food like rice, potatoes, pasta, and wheat. Think of complex carbs like a long lasting heavy duty battery. And because they are made of massive chains of cellulose molecules hooked together, your digestive system has to work hard to chop them apart one by one. This is why they provide slow release energy, keeping you fueled for hours without a crash. On the flip side, we have refined sugars or simple carbohydrates. Think of sweets, sodas, and cakes. These do not need any heavy chopping. They are already simple. They rush into your bloodstream almost instantly, causing a rapid energy spike, followed very quickly by that dreaded sugar crash. Now, what happens if you eat more carbs than your body requires? Right then, your body does not waste them. It packs the extra glucose away into a temporary storage molecule called glycogen, which is kept in your liver and muscles. But remember this for your exams. Your glycogen stores have a limit. If those stores get completely full, your body takes any remaining excess glucose and converts it into fat for long-term storage. Here you can see on that slide, you can also take a screenshot of this complete slide. Next up, we have lipids, which is just the overarching scientific term for fats and oils. Now, lipids often get a bad reputation in popular media, but biologically, they are absolutely magnificent. They are incredibly energy dense and completely insoluble, meaning they do not dissolve in water. This waterproof nature of lipids makes them the perfect choice for building structural boundaries in your cells and storing energy for long term. If carbohydrates are your body's daily checking account for quick cash, then lipids are the high yield savings account because gram for gram, lipids pack twice the energy of carbohydrates. But energy is not their only job. Your body uses them for two types of insulation. First, they form a layer of subcutaneous fat right under your skin to keep you warm. Secondly, they form a specialized coating called a myelin sheath, which wraps around your nerves like plastic insulation around an electric wire, keep nervous signals traveling fast. On top of that, lipids are essential for chemical signaling. They act as the raw building blocks or precursors for steroid hormones, which regulate everything from your metabolism to reproductive health. However, here is the vital health note you need to remember that while lipids are completely essential for life, a high intake of saturated fats and cholesterol can be dangerous for your health because it builds up in your blood vessels, acting as a major risk factor for cardiovascular diseases or heart problems. Again, it all comes back to a balance. Our third macronutrient is proteins, and these are the ultimate molecular workhorses of the living world. Think of proteins like words in a language. To build a word, as you need letters, but for proteins, those letters are amino acids. There are 20 different amino acids in total, and your body can manufacture some of them on its own. But there are certain ones which we call essential amino acids. But why we call those essential? Because your body cannot synthesize or make them. The only way to get them is directly from the food which you eat. Now, when most people hear the word protein, they instantly think of building big muscles. But proteins do so much more than that. They act as enzymes, which are biological catalysts that speed up chemical reactions inside you. And they form hemoglobin, which are the specialized proteins inside your red blood cells that carries life-saving oxygen from your lungs to your toes. And they also build antibodies, which are defensive weapons of your immune system that fight off viruses and bacteria. Because proteins do so much heavy lifting, so a severe lack of them causes devastating conditions known as protein energy malnutrition. And if a child's diet severely lacks protein, they can develop kwashiorkor. This is a heartbreaking condition often recognized by a severely swollen abdomen, which happens because fluid leaks into the tissues when blood proteins are missing. So if the diet lacks both proteins and overall energy entirely, it leads to marasmus, which causes severe wasting, where the body drops to a dangerously low weight. And it really also highlights just how critical these molecule building blocks are to keeping us alive and functioning every single day. Now that we have understood what carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids are, let's look at how the body actually breaks them down so they can pass right through the walls of your small intestine and enter your bloodstream. This summary table is absolutely good and gold for your exams. So let's walk through it step by step. First up, carbohydrates. Their chemical digestion actually starts the moment you take a bite right inside your mouth, and you should be thankful to your saliva. After that, it then finishes up in the small intestine. And what is the final product there? The final products are glucose and other simple sugars. This is the exact form your cells require to make energy. The next one we are going to discuss is about proteins. Their chemical breakdown requires a highly acidic environment. Okay, I'm talking about proteins. So it kicks off in the stomach and wraps up in the small intestine. As it has been mentioned earlier, that the final building blocks absorbed by your body are amino acids. And finally, we have lipids, which are our fats and oils. Because lipids do not mix with water, they are a bit tougher to handle. Their chemical digestion happens entirely within the small intestine with the help of bile and specialized enzymes. They are broken down and absorbed as two distinct components, which are fatty acids and glycerol. Now, my dear viewers, take a screenshot of this table or jot it down in your notes. Memorizing these locations and end products is one of the easiest ways to secure top-up marks on your next biology exam. All right, so we have covered the big three: carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, which give us our bulk, energy, and physical structure. But a high performance engine needs more than just fuel and metal. It needs oil and spark plugs to keep everything running smoothly. And so in your body, that is job of vitamins, irons, and calcium. No doubt some other are also very important, but in your syllabus, we shall discuss only vitamin C, D, iron, and calcium. First of all, vitamins are essential organic catalysts. This means they are complex carbon-based molecules which help speed up and control vital biochemical reactions inside you. And without them, your metabolism would essentially grind to a halt. But here is the biological challenge. With very few exceptions, the human body cannot produce most vitamins on its own, at least not in the quantities which we need to stay healthy. And because we cannot manufacture them, we must get them directly from the outside world through a varied and colorful diet. Let's look at two of the most critical vitamins which you need to know for your exam. Let's dive into our first major example, that is vitamin C. The most important chemical characteristic of vitamin C is that it is water soluble. This means it dissolves in water, so your body cannot store any excess amount of vitamin C in your fat tissues. Whatever your body does not use today gets flushed out, meaning you have to consume vitamin C regularly through your food. You need a regular intake of vitamin C. So what does it actually do? Think of vitamin C as a primary chemical glue of the human body. It is completely essential for synthesizing collagen. Collagen is a tough fibrous protein that acts like the scaffolding for your skin, your blood vessels, and all your connective tissues. On top of that, vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant, which means it acts like a shield protecting your cells from everyday molecular damage. Now, what happens if you completely run out of vitamin C? Without vitamin C, your body can no longer produce healthy collagen and your structural tissues literally start to break down. This leads to a famous deficiency disease which we call scurvy. Historically, sailors on long sea voyages would get scurvy because they had no fresh fruit. Their gums would bleed, their teeth would loosen and fall out, and terrifyingly, old wounds which had healed years ago would actually start to reopen because the collagen holding them together got filled. To fix that issue, that is incredibly simple. Just make sure your diet includes plenty of citrus fruits like oranges, lemons, and limes, or fresh green leafy vegetables like spinach. Now let's look at vitamin D. Unlike vitamin C, which washes away daily, vitamin D is fat soluble. This means your body can actually store any extra amount of vitamin D in your fatty tissues and your liver for later use. Now remember the difference. Vitamin C is water soluble and vitamin D is fat soluble. Okay. You should also note that Vitamin D has an incredibly unique feature that sets it apart from almost every other nutrient. Your body can actually manufacture vitamin D entirely on its own, because when your skin is exposed to ultraviolet radiation or UV light from natural sunlight, it triggers a biological pathway that synthesizes vitamin D right inside your body. That is why it is famously nicknamed as the sunlight vitamin. So what is the primary job of vitamin D? Its main role is to act like a security guard that unlocks the doors of your small intestine. It facilitates the absorption of calcium from your digested food, putting it into your bloodstream so it can be delivered directly to strengthen your bones and teeth. Without vitamin D, you could eat all the calcium in the world and your body would not be able to absorb it, because calcium and vitamin D, they both act like a team. What are the key sources? Key sources are fish, liver oils, eggs, dairy, and liver. Now look at the deficiency of vitamin D. You can also see in this diagram that if a growing child does not get enough vitamin D, their bones never get the chance to strengthen properly. They remain soft and pliable. This leads to a well-known deficiency disease which we call rickets. And because leg bones are too soft, the literal weight of the child's upper body pushes down on them, causing the legs to visibly bow or bend outward as they grow. So, to keep this from happening means to secure yourself from this disease, we just need a bit of safe sun exposure and a diet featuring fish liver oils, eggs, liver, and fortified dairy products. Now let's move from vitamins to an incredibly vital mineral and trace element, that is iron. Even though your body only needs it in small amounts, iron is absolutely non-negotiable for keeping you alive, and its primary function is to serve as the literal experience for gas transport inside your body. Now think of your red blood cells like a fleet of delivery trucks, and inside each truck is a specialized protein called hemoglobin. Right at the very center of that hemoglobin molecule sits a single atom of iron. That iron atom acts like a magnet for oxygen. So when you take a breath, oxygen enters your lungs, binds tightly to the iron in your hemoglobin, and is carried through your bloodstream to every single cell in your body. But why that happen? So your cells can perform aerobic respiration, okay, which is how they generate energy to keep you moving. So what happens if your diet lacks iron? Without enough iron, your body simply cannot build enough hemoglobin. This leads to a common deficiency condition which we call anemia. And because you have less hemoglobin, your blood's oxygen carrying capacity drops significantly. Your cells are essentially starved of the oxygen they need to generate energy. This is why the symptoms of anemia are so distinct, that people feel persistent fatigue because their cells cannot make enough energy, and they develop pale skin because there is less red pigment in their blood, and they experience shortness of breath as the body frantically tries to get more oxygen into the system. And to keep your iron levels healthy, make sure to include red meat and liver in your diet, as they are the easiest forms of your body to absorb, or excellent plant-based options like spinach and dark leafy greens. Let's talk about now about calcium. This is the single most abundant mineral in the human body, and the vast majority of it, okay, that is about 99%, that is stored right inside your skeletal system. Now when most people think of calcium, they only think of bones and teeth, and they are completely right. But calcium is calcium's major structural job is to provide the literal hardness, and strength in your bones and tooth enamel, so they do not break under pressure. But here is the fascinating part that examiners love to test. Calcium is not just structural, it is also a vital physiological signaling molecule. Physiological signaling molecule. Every single time a muscle in your body contracts, including the constant beating of your heart, it requires a rush of calcium ions to unlock the movement. On top of that, calcium is a crucial factor in the chemical cascade that allows your blood to clot after an injury, sealing up wounds so you stop bleeding. And because your heart and muscles absolutely must have calcium to function, look what happens if your diet lacks it. Your body will literally steal calcium from your bones to keep your heart beating. Okay? Then this leaves your bones weak and brittle. In growing children, a severe calcium deficiency leads directly to rickets because, as we have learned just a moment ago, calcium and vitamin D work as a team. A deficiency can also show up as painful muscle cramps, or a condition where the wound healing gets slow because the blood cannot clot properly, and this we call as tetany. So to keep your bones strong and your muscles firing perfectly, make sure you are getting enough dairy products like milk and cheese, and small boned fish like sardines or fortified cereals. Now here you can see a synergistic relationship between vitamin D and calcium. No doubt we have discussed that earlier, but I shall only read it out here for your complete understanding. It is important to note that vitamin D and calcium are functionally linked. You can consume a significant amount of calcium, but without sufficient vitamin D to act as the gatekeeper for absorption in the small intestine, the calcium will simply pass through the digestive system unused. This is why both deficiencies, means deficiency of vitamin D or deficiency of calcium, can lead to the same skeletal outcome, that is rickets. And here it is the ultimate master summary table for micronutrients. If you want to absolutely smash the structured questions on your upcoming biology exam, this is the slide you need to memorize. Let's look at the precise biological causes the examiners are looking for. First of all, vitamin C. We know it causes the deficiency of vitamin C causes scurvy, and the key symptom of this disease is the breakdown of collagen tissues. But look at the exact biological cause. Without vitamin C, your body completely fails to cross-link collagen fibers, and this results in the weakened connective tissue, which is why gums bleed and blood vessels fail. Secondly, vitamin D. The deficiency of vitamin D leads to rickets, which causes soft, bending bones. And mechanistically, why does that happen? Because a lack of vitamin D creates an inability to absorb calcium from the gut. And without that calcium, the proper hardening or mineralization of bone tissue becomes completely impossible. Thirdly, we have iron. A deficiency of iron leads to anemia, causing a distinct lack of energy. So, on your exam, make sure to state that the biological cause clearly. Reduced hemoglobin levels. Okay, this means less oxygen reaches your cells, which directly shuts down their ability to perform aerobic respiration and generate energy. Finally, we are going to discuss calcium. So, lack of calcium can cause rickets or hypocalcemia, representing as weak bones and muscle spasms. This biological cause is twofold. You lose the essential structural filler that keeps bones rigid, and you do not have enough calcium ions to manage vital nerve and muscle signaling. So, my dear viewers, my dear students, take a quick screenshot of this table right now. Having these specific terms in your vocabulary is the absolute secret to unlocking full marks on your human nutrition chapter. To completely round out our picture of a balanced diet, we have two final components to discuss. Now, technically, these are non-nutrient components, meaning they do not give us calories or raw materials to build muscles, but without them, our biological machinery would completely lock up. These components are fiber and water. Fiber is primarily found in plant cell walls in the form of cellulose, and because humans lack the enzyme to break down cellulose, it passes through your digestive system completely undigested. But that is exactly its superpower. By remaining solid, it provides physical bulk for the smooth muscle of your digestive tract to squeeze and push against. Okay, and this also triggers efficient peristalsis, which is the wave-like muscle contraction that move food along, which keeps your digestive system clean and actively prevents constipation. And finally, we have the absolute baseline of all life, that is water. Water is the ultimate universal solvent. Inside your body, it serves three critical functions which you must remember for your exam. First of all, it works as a medium, means it acts as the fluid medium where every single biochemical reaction in your cells take place. Second one is the transport, means it forms the basis of your blood plasma, acting as the transport fluid which carries nutrients, hormones and waste across your body. The third one is its function as a coolant, means it serves as your primary coolant, absorbing metabolic heat and releasing it through sweat to regulate your temperature. Now today we just scratched the surface of these two non-nutrients, that is fiber and water. But our next full detailed lecture on fiber and water is coming up tomorrow. So make absolutely sure you do not miss tomorrow's lecture. And if you found this breakdown helpful and want to clear your biology exams with the top marks, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and classmates so you can all study together. Now, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I wish you all the absolute best of luck in your studies. Thank you, goodbye, and I will see you all tomorrow.